Sometimes feeling all alone, very, very much at home. Think about the party days, never thought it'd go away. Party on from dusk till dawn, having fun and singing songs, toasting to our creaturehood, far as far we could. Friendship sure meant something then, not just TV lose or win. Rapping by the friendly fire, telling jokes and getting higher, touch so deep within our soul, long lost heart of rock and roll. Children of Aquarius, throttled by the perilous. First they killed the Kennedys, scrambled the Vietnamese, lined the pockets of the thugs, launched the phony war on drugs. Never cross their twisted minds, consciousness is quite sublime. Goons cooking on the radio, held to their holy hate patrol. Sometimes feeling all alone, very, very much at home. Think about the party days, never thought it'd go away. Party on from dusk to dawn, having fun and singing songs, toasting to our creaturehood, far as far we could.
Musicians and the people coming up from Mexico working in the farms in California, they're the ones that smoke pot. So let's make a law against them. And they don't have any lobbies, and they didn't have any standing at that time to make any big claim against it. So we'll prohibit that and nobody will care. And at the time, in 1937, when they passed the Marijuana Tax Act, there was like 5,000 people in the whole country that smoked pot. And since 1937, it's grown to 70 million by the government's own figures. I think it's higher, but let's say 70 million. So if you go from 5,000 to 70 million, if you look back in that one perspective, has the prohibition been effective? I would suggest no. You know, and have they increased penalties and tried to make it more difficult? Just taxing marijuana, like they did in 37. They assumed all marijuana came from Mexico, and you need to tax it and import it now. Since then, we've learned that marijuana can be grown in this country. But Leary got busted, I think, in '69 based upon the marijuana tax thing. But in any event, they thought they were going to get away with it. And so far, they've gotten away with it. And it's amazing to me, with 70 million people that use or have used marijuana and 30 million that use it on a regular basis, I mean, that's like 15% of the population, that we can't get this done. If there's 70 million people that have tried pot and they all sent $1 to normal, we'd have enough money to compete and get a president elected and do billboards and everything else. But many people are more saying, well, it won't ever happen to me. Why should I do that? I'll spend $150 on my next bag of pot, and I won't give $1 to normal because it'll never affect me. And that's what's kept this thing cooking, I think, for years. So what's happening lately? Well, normal in '73. When we first got started here in '74, we're just on a bandwagon to change it, and everybody thought it'd be done, but then we had the '80s and the Republicans, and it was a backlash against it, and all these moneyed interests, again, fought against this marijuana being legal. It wasn't even talked, we didn't use the word hemp back then. You know, we didn't talk about hemp or industrial use. We didn't even talk as much about medical use. We talked about our right to smoke pot, because we were not harming anybody. It's like that libertarian principle of I have the right to swing my fist in any direction as long as I'm not hitting anybody else in the nose. Why could they bitch about it? I mean, that's the way this country started, kind of a pragmatic, individual approach. We've had difficulties in the 80s, but I'm telling you what, folks, and I talked to Keith Strock, who's back to normal again, and about this, and he and I and other people are convinced that we're right on the edge of this thing changing again. We feel like we did in 1973 and 1974, where I heard him say, well, Keith, when's it going to be legal? He says, I think it'll be legal in 5 years. And I looked at him and I said, I may have been the only one in the room that was here 25 years ago. I heard you say that, and I can't help but laugh. But I really believe you did. Am I crazy too, or what? But I believe you. I believed you then, and I believe you now. And I really do. I feel in my heart of hearts that the time is right, that people have had enough, and that on so many different bases that we can now establish the right for legal marijuana use in this country. And so I think the time is right. I sent you a letter telling you that there was 79, I don't know if I said that, but there were 79 active members of NORML in this state. Now, when we first started in 73, there was 3 of us, you know? But Jesus, you think there'd be 5,000 by now, you know? And there should be, because I figured it out, and proportionately, based upon population of use, and the fact that Indiana people, Hoosiers are very independent people, and even though we're conservative, that doesn't have anything to do politically with the use of marijuana in my experience. Bill Buckley smoked pot, for God's sakes. But I think there's 1 million of us in Indiana. There's 5.5 million people in this state. 20% of the population in the country has used pot. There's 1 million pot smokers in this state. 1 million. Okay, if they all sent us $1, we could have $1 million and we could get elected to something here, you know, and do some good. I don't know that we'll ever get that done, but I'm saying we have a big market of constituents out there that just need some leadership. They need to know that we exist. They need to know that they aren't alone. Now, the internet's a change that's going to help make this change, I believe, because there's better access to information. You can get in contact with people, and you don't feel as alone, even if you're living in a tree somewhere. If you've got a battery-powered thing and you can get on the internet, then you're in a phone, you know, you're there. So I think the internet's going to help. I think that all the medical research and advances has helped. The government's backpedaling all the time about all their lies. I mean, we've exposed their programs around the country as counterproductive and full of graft. That we're having more input. I've seen a difference personally. I've been speaking to high schools and colleges since the early 70s, and I like to speak. I'm an old speech major from Purdue, and I don't mind speaking. And I remember back in the early 70s and the early 80s when I'd go to a high school and speak, it was the teachers wouldn't have anything to do with me. They thought I was the devil.
What's coming down?
It was the teachers wouldn't have anything to do with me. They thought I was the devil. Then I'd have students come up and they'd believe me, you know, and they'd believe me. And teachers would follow me out of the building and stuff. You know?
Make sure you don't come back.
It's amazing. And then there came a time about 10 years later when in the late 80s, after these propaganda in schools and the DARE programs and wear your red ribbon and billboards that say turn in your neighbor, dial 236 dope and we'll give you money on tax, you know, and they get all this stuff. And then it was the students didn't believe me and the teachers would come up to me and shake my hand and talk to me. And now it's back around again. Purdue NORML is the first chapter we've gotten started this year in the state. And a gentleman asked me to come up and speak to his group. I told him he had to have at least 12 people. He said you have to have 5 members of NORML to start a chapter, whether it's a state chapter or a local chapter. And that's not a big requirement, but he could only get 4. And I said, well, have a meeting, try to get at least 12 people together, and I'll come up to Purdue and speak. And I'll be glad to speak up at Purdue anyway, but anywhere. I'll go anywhere in the state if you can get enough people and give me some notice and a chance to do it. I'll come at my own expense and I'll speak to you and try to get a group going there. And I went up there 2 weeks ago at Purdue, and they had over 100 people show up. There was a state